Shhh was first published in 1991, and I was playing around with ideas. Firstly, I wanted a book with a story that started really right from the very first page. You know, you get lots of random pages not random pages at the beginning of books with the title and where it's printed and so on. With Shhh, I wanted that you opened the book and you were straight into the story, and that at the end of the book, it went right to the very last inside cover, and then you would slam the book shut. And it wasn't until I decided that the book would be a giant's castle, and that you would go from page to page in the book, and that would actually take you from room to room in the castle, knowing that at some point you were going to bump into the giant. And it's actually a very simple book in a way. It does have flaps in it, and the flaps you look through, but you look through to see to make sure that the status quo is still there, so that if you, for instance, come across the giant's cat, you open a flap once you've gone past that room where the cat is, to make sure the cat is still there. And then you're told all the way through to be quiet, because there is a danger of meeting the giant. So the child is, when you're reading it to a child, you're telling the child all the time to be quiet. And then finally you get to the room where the giant is asleep. And at that point, being a mischievous sort of person, I wanted to engage the child completely. And at this point, we actually ask the child, as the reader, you ask the child to go to say boo. It's a strange thing, but children don't actually expect the giant to have woken up. But he does. And there's a huge giant's eye underneath the flap. And when you open the flap, there's this eye. And it just is extraordinary, the reaction that children give to that. Because they don't expect it. And then, of course, the giant is then coming after you, and you have to shut the book to keep the giant in. When I read it to children, and I quite often if I go into schools, I always read it. I make sure that they are quiet right from the beginning, and if there's any noise at all, I pick up on that. If somebody sneezes, if somebody's fiddling with their shoes or something, I say, for goodness sake, be quiet. This is a really dangerous, scary book. There's a giant in here, and that's what you should do, is to get that sort of get them really gripped. And if you've done it properly, and it's not difficult, they will be sitting there just kind of scared, but an enjoyable scared, and that's important because children still need to know that they're safe. So yeah, just engaging them in that way, really, and then they may need a little bit of encouragement to say boo if you've scared them too much by that point. If someone's enjoyed reading Shhh to their school or to their children, then the follow-up, Keep Out, which came out some good few years later, has a lot of the same elements as Shhh. It's a little bit more complicated, but it does have flaps, it's scary, and in this particular case, the reader is reluctant. But the listener, the children listening, will want to keep the book going. And because it's called Keep Out and it's got things like danger, children will be eaten right at the beginning of it. It's one of those where children are kind of on the edges of their seat, but they still want to keep going. And it's based on Goldilocks and the Three Bears.